Hi, girlies. Welcome to the Grace Girlie Standard. This is where I'm going to talk about all things feminine. And basically, I want it to be a platform where we can discuss topics that you guys send to me, but use long form or a long form type of content to discuss these issues. Okay, let me catch my breath. I think I'm so excited. This is the first video where I'm doing this because I do believe that I get a lot of DMs and I can tell that, okay, the women are missing the point here. And so it's something that I believe it will help plenty of women without you having to, consult with me or without you having to do courses and stuff like that. This is a platform where you can learn a bit more. And yeah, if you feel like you need more from me, then at least this is the start or the beginning, right? So today's topic, I'm going to talk about you are enough. As a woman, you are enough. You are worthy of love. And I'm not going to make it soft. I'm going to come into the details of why I'm saying this. You deserve to be loved. And I think the most important point that I want to hammer in this particular video is that there's nothing wrong with you. They might seem that there is, but there isn't. Why I say this is because when you look at, for instance, the results and the outcomes that you're getting in your life, you may think, okay, there's something wrong with me. Why do I meet someone and after 2 months that relationship is dead? Why do I not get to have the happy ending? Why is it that every guy that comes to me just wants one thing and then they leave? So sometimes you have those questions in your mind and you then gather that information you're getting as input, and then you conclude that actually maybe I'm the problem, no one likes you or whatever. So this particular video, that's what I'm going to be talking about. There's nothing wrong with you. The outcomes may make it seem like there is, but there is nothing. And we're going to get into it because I believe that, and it's going to be a series obviously, but I believe that you need a bigger sister, an older sister. You need a cousin. You need that cool cousin that's going to tell you things that no one else is willing to tell you. And I'm that cousin. Sorry to break it to you. I am that cousin. You will get to know me as we do this long form videos. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. So let's start with this question. Okay, I'm going to go through my DMs because there's a particular text that I received that I want us to go through. And we're going to go through that text and we are going to discuss that, and I'm going to give you the tips, okay, based on this particular story that I have here. And I'm going to tell you how you need to approach it, how you need to solve for it. I'll try and keep the video as short as possibly possible so that you can digest what we are going to discuss here. Okay. So I received a DM. I'm going to keep it anonymous because I get a lot of these, so it doesn't matter on, the name. The common denominators that the people that are sending messages to me are going through this. So it says here, let me take you back a bit. Okay. So X amount of years ago, I met the father of my child, and about 2 months in, we started being intimate. And after that, he ghosted me. Okay. He went alone. He went AWOL. I remember very well, and kept on chasing him, calling him and texting, wanting to know why he ghosted me. And he gave excuses. This went on, and then everything we had, what we only had was sex. And then he would disappear. So every time this guy came back into this lady's life, he would want sex and then he would disappear. Okay. I think a lot of people do go through that, or a lot of women. And so we're going to discuss that and break it down. And then here, she then says to me, so now after being out of the dating pool, okay, and a lot of women do that. After a big pain, a big hurt, they go through this whole, I did that as well. After my biggest breakup with a guy I thought I was supposed to marry. And I'm saying that because he wasn't the one, but I believed deep down that he was. And I'll tell you why that is, and we're going to solve for it, right? Okay, so yeah, so she's been out of the dating pool for quite some time, almost about 2 years. And she decided to go back into the dating pool last year in June. Okay, so when she got back, she went back to Tinder, and then she met this older man, right? Older man who is about 15 years older than her. And she thought, oh, because this guy's like 15 years older than me, he's going to be mature. Okay. Not the case. If you know, you know. It doesn't necessarily mean that the older they are, the more mature they are. Okay. Sometimes it just means they've experienced more than you. And so, honey, they're going to make you go around and round, you know what I mean? Because they have better tactics than a youngster, you know? So, yeah, anyways, because of experience. And so she then says here that she thought that this guy wouldn't play games because of maturity. However, it turned out that that's not the case. So they obviously went out on a couple of dates. And after a month of going out, okay, they got intimate. All right. Then this guy also ghosted her, you see. And then it's been quite some time. It's been about weeks now. And he hasn't said anything following the intimacy. But this time she's taken back her power, you know, in the sense that she's not calling or chasing anymore. And this is where it beats me. This is where the question makes me feel sad. It really, really challenges me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just hug her and let her know wherever she is that you are okay. There's nothing wrong with you. So she says here to me, so my question is, what is wrong with me? Is there something I'm doing wrong because I took time to focus on myself with the hopes of attracting different people, but you keep attracting the same person in a different body? And she says, I'm really tired, honestly. I am even thinking of giving up. Ladies, you do not know how many times I receive this message. You do not understand how many times I get this message from women saying, what is wrong with me? Why can't I find a man who will treat me like the princess that I believe I am, and also at the same time just, you know, take me seriously, because I want to be taken seriously. Now, in answering these questions, obviously I did let her know that nothing is wrong with her, and I want to tell you nothing is wrong with you. Okay, if you're going through this, there's a few things that I picked up from the message itself, which we are going to discuss. And if you know me, you know that I discuss hormones, I discuss what happens in your body when you do certain things, because all of these things come together into one big reaction or response. Nothing is siloed. And I think when you listen to my content as your femininity architect, because we're building you this, you know, we're designing this femininity for you specifically, that's going to be a bespoke. And when I say bespoke, I'm talking about hyper personalized. It's going to be for you, okay, and only you. You need to understand a few things whilst going through the process of dating and being in a relationship. And I talk about this because I'm so passionate about it. I was this girl at some point in my life. I was the girl who said, you know what, I'm giving up because this thing is not working. I stayed out of the dating market for like 5 years, and that was my youth, which we're going to touch on. It was like 22 until 28. By the time I wanted to go back, you know what the market says, right, about that. The market will say to you, oh, now you're old. 28 going to 30, you are old. Okay. And I must say that it did challenge me a lot, because I had to find myself and not necessarily attach my worth to my age or my beauty, so I needed to dig deep, and that's what we're going to be doing. As long as you're following my content, you're going to be digging deep, and the digging deep is going to go in different ways. Okay, it's going to be in content that I do. It's going to be, I'm going to take you on a journey with me, experiences where we discuss these things. Maybe this video sometime soon I'll do it at a beautiful, nice luxury hotel. Who knows? So I'm going to take you through those experiences. And when I bring you into that experience of going into a luxury hotel, I'll then be describing to you what to expect in the sense of femininity. How is this experience making you more feminine? How is it cultivating your femininity? And these are the things we're going to be doing. So if you follow me, just expect incredible content, not only where you watch, but also where you learn, because this is the platform to learn. Okay. So basically, what I see from this young lady that, DM'd me, number one, she is rushing intimacy. Okay. And I can say this for sure, that to a certain extent, the movies that we watch, some of the content as well that we hear on the different social media platforms will have you think that there is no formula to relationships. And I say this because, yes, there is no formula, because I can't tell you add 1 + 1, you'll get 2. But what I can tell you is there's principles. There are principles that lead you to your end result. Okay. And that's how God made things generally. There's natural law that helps things work out the way that they should. A natural law, for instance, is the law of gravity. That's a universal law. It's like, for a fact that if you were to go up a building right now that's 20 stories high and you jump off, you're not going to fly. You are going to crash because of gravity, correct? And I will bring in the more complex things, haven't discussed that, because then you have a superior law, and that's the law of aerodynamics. You see what I mean? So there will be a superior law to that, but most of the time you don't get that. And I teach what I teach because there's 2 laws, universal laws, that I could say are foundational to what I teach, which is the law of polarity, which speaks about having the feminine and the masculine, the positive and the negative. So they'll always be, in terms of universal laws, the laws that govern the universe, there'll always be the law of polarity. Okay. So it's the plus and the minus. And in the sense of feminine and masculine energy, it's those two. So you'll always have that polarizing energy between the two. That's why you find that people who are extremely feminine attract extremely masculine men. It's because the energies need to somewhat balance each other. They need to harmonize each other. And so that's how it happens in that sense. Now let's go to the second law. The second universal law is the law of gender, that there's always a female and a male. There's always gender involved in the universal laws. And one day I'll do a video where I explain these things in depth, but it's important that you understand that these are laws that cannot be changed. And so you need to use and work around them unless you exercise the law of grace. If you are Christian, and I would invite you to be Christian and accept Christ as your Lord and Savior. I am Christian. There's the law of grace, which then says that, grace is upon your life and mercy. So grace does things in your life that some principles would never, but it never cancels out the principles. They'll always be there. Remember when it says in the Bible that Jesus did not come to, remove the law. He came to fulfill it. So part of it is still that you still need to live according to the template that God gave us, but there's grace, meaning if you fall down and you do something, just stand up, dust yourself off and start walking again. Do not now say, oh, I can't go to church anymore, or, oh, I can't do XYZ because now I've done this thing. You know what I mean? So that's the law of grace. Grace says you are forgiven. Come back to me, my child. Oh, I lied yesterday. If you lied yesterday, God says, just confess that you lied and then I'll forgive you. It's that simple, and ask for forgiveness and I'll forgive you. Obviously, he does not discount the fact that you should not lie. You see what I mean? So the principle will always be there, but there's a superior law similar to the law of aerodynamics. I know that was very technical, scientific. If you don't know already, I am that girl. I am like a science person. But anyways, that's a story for another day. So let's go through the process of dating, right? Especially as a woman. For you as a woman, for you as a young lady, how do you approach this particular area of your life? Number one, intimacy must be delayed at all costs. Okay, you delay intimacy, not because you are trying to make the guy invest in you. No. You delaying, and I know people use this a lot to say, oh, I do the 90-day rule. My love, you can do the 90-day rule and the guy will wait for day 91 to get what he wants. That's how guys are, okay? Especially if you give him the goal and say, oh no, I'm on a 90-day what? He will say, oh really? Okay, let's wait for the 90, for day 92. I will wait. And guys are very patient, especially when it comes to the cookies. Okay, they are very patient and they can pretend and they will do whatever it takes to get the cookie. Because why? You are a conquest. You are somewhat a challenge and they need to win you. They need to conquer you. The masculine always wants to conquer. Okay. And so if you are the woman who says, I do this because of that. So yes, I'm on a 90-day rule. To him, it clock says, oh, okay, cool. I'll wait 90 days. But if you communicate it in such a way where you are communicating your value as a woman. So the communication of value is you saying, listen, based on my belief systems, based on, I just want to honor God and I'd like to keep my body a sanctuary, things like that. That is better than actually saying that you have a 90-day rule. Saying to the person, you are trying to, in fact, I believe that when you start discussing sex from month 1, 2, 3, the relationship is going to naturally move towards being more sexual. Okay. So you need to dig deeper into the guy to get out of that mentality. Men will always approach you because they see that. They're like, oh, okay, I want that, and we all know that's the primary reason. Okay. But some men it's not, and I just want to highlight that. Okay, so, and also, yes, they might have that at the back of their mind because that all men do that, but you as the feminine are the one who moves him out of that mindset to say, actually, I'm of value. And saying that I'm of value is not only in talking about it. That's where most women miss it. Most women talk about their value to say, I want a guy that does this. I want a guy that does that. I want a guy that I don't mix with guys that do this. But when you look at their actions, it's not telling. Okay, their actions are not aligning with what they're saying. And what that means from the guy's perspective is that then you must not be the ish that you think you are. You must not be as as you think you are. And so that's how it clocks into in their head. So what tends to happen then is you need to sit down and say to yourself, I will not have sex unless it's my husband. I will not engage in any sexual activity with a man unless it's my husband. And you need to put in so that's the objective, right? That's like your goal. Now you need to put in things, barriers, and things that will help you to not get to that point with a man at all. Okay, so you've decided this guy must be your husband for you to actually have intercourse and have intimacy with them. And what tends to happen then, you need to now draft, okay, these are the conditions that I need to make sure I put myself in so that thing does not lead to another, where I end up seeing myself, now I'm with this guy and we are sleeping together. Number one, you'll say to yourself, for instance, and these are examples, but I need you to think deeply. And when you start engaging in intimacy, you are a grown woman, okay? Even traditionally, sorry, I have a delivery that's coming, so I'm going to just do the delivery quickly and then get back to it. Do expect me to leave you for 2 seconds to go get my delivery, and then I will come back to the topic, okay? So you're going to have to put in barriers and say, therefore, I will not be found with this guy privately, meaning this guy, I will not go to his house. He will not come to my house. We will always be in public when it's me and this guy meeting. You see what I mean? So you need to put those types of things in place in order for you to what? Protect and self-preserve yourself. You will say, for instance, a guy who's not my husband is a foreigner to me. Meaning, if he's a foreigner, and when I say foreigner, I don't mean culturally or whatnot. I mean he's not family. Okay, he's not your blood. So you will not be found alone with this person in a confined space where there aren't any other people. Okay, so things like that will help you to set the rules. As soon as you find yourself in that situation, you flee, you run. Okay, you run as fast as you can. Okay, I'm gonna come back. Okay, guys, so we spoke about the part where you are not going to be found. So I just finished eating a burger because I was very hungry. But I cut that out from this particular video because we are talking serious things. Yeah. So you're not going to be found with this guy anywhere where it's very private. Anywhere where you guys are alone, like you are together alone. Okay. It's not going to happen. Excuse me. The other thing that I want you to note is there's no guy who's serious about you, and there's exceptions, and you need to note this. It's exceptions for a reason. Okay, it means it never happens. So when it does happen, it's a 1 in 100 chance, or it's a 1 in 1,000 chance that it happens, or even more than that, 1,000, 10,000. So there is no guy that likes you and sees a future with you that wants to rush getting you to bed. In fact, a man who is interested in you for future term, he's looking at your mind, he's looking at how you behave, your character, and he's engaging you based on those things. So sometimes you might think, this guy's he's not as interested in me. That's not true. When you look at movies, okay, a movie is like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and so everything in a movie is rushed to get to the end of the story. But if you truly were to evaluate what happened in the movie, let's say it's a romantic movie, if you look at what's going on, like how the girl and the guy meet and how they then start seeing each other and then how they start going out to get, all those things, it happens in an hour and a half. So then how it happens in our minds, we seem to process it that way. We seem to think, oh, that's how relationships are supposed to go. So then that's why it happens where you meet a guy today, a month later, 2 months later, you guys have already had intercourse. That's not what is supposed to be happening. You're supposed to take time, a long time, to get to know the person first. What I want to highlight about that is, as a woman, as a young girl, as a young lady, you need to cherish your womb, okay? You need to cherish your womb and who goes into your womb, because your womb is a portal. It's a portal. Why? Because it brings in the next generation. It brings in creation into this dimension. I'm not going to get technical because I don't want to sound new age. I'm not new age at all, but there's dimensions that are out there, right? There's a spiritual world and a physical world. Now, a baby, as you're building the baby inside you, you are now working together with the spiritual world. You see what I mean? That baby will come out of you and will have air and breathe and have life and move and laugh and whatever. So you are a portal. This baby is coming through you. You are the door into this world. You are the door into earth. So you need to be careful with your womb. You need to cherish your womb. You need to appreciate your womb. You need to actually, to a certain extent, I don't want to say worship it because then it's going to sound, but you need to treat it like that. You need to treat your womb like the goddess, the princess, the sanctuary, the temple that it is. And not anyone and everyone can enter a temple. You see what I mean? The person who enters the temple needs to be clean. Not just physically as in they bath, but clean in how they act, present themselves spiritually, mentally, all of those things. So how are you going to learn all of these things about this person in a month? No matter how much you talk on the phone, no matter how many times you guys could stay an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or the whole night on the phone, you'll still not know enough about this person. You know what I mean? So that's why you take time. And why we take time is also to see people in different seasons of their lives. You take time so that you can see this person. How do they behave when they're angry? How do they behave when they're happy? How do they behave when everything is working out for them? How do they behave when nothing is working out for them? You see what I mean? Do they still maintain a clean temple? before you allow this person into your womb. Okay, I want us to emphasize that. I will be emphasizing these things, these points in my videos as you watch me, as I teach you, as we engage and build this community of feminine women who are all in one. And you can be that. You can be a woman who's killing it in corporate, at school, you're getting your distinctions, but also be soft and pretty and all of these things, but also know your worth and be firm in your worth. When I speak about worth, I'm not talking about you need to buy me a 10,000 weave. You need to do my nails, my hair. I don't date anyone that doesn't drive a car. None of that. I'm talking about worth that comes from within, from inside your heart. Okay. We're going to talk about all of that. So those are the things that you're going to do. I need you to write them down for me, okay? You need to put in certain things. If you are not thinking about this, you will not act on it. It's that simple. Hence, I'm saying you need to write it down and say, this is the goal for me. I will only have intercourse with my husband. And so you will not then rush the process of getting your husband. You're going to take that process slow as well. You're going to make sure that, you are interviewing the right candidate to be your husband. So it means the first guy that comes along that promises to marry you is not going to be your husband. Because why? Men, when they see that marriage is the goal for you, they will promise you marriage to get what they want. Okay, so men are very clever and they've figured out how to work things out. They figured out that, okay, this girl, she's very needy. She wants to get married. She wants to have a big family. She's craving these things. And so I'm going to promise her that I'll give her these things. To a certain extent, if words don't work, they'll even do actions that make it seem like they actually do want to be with you long term. But when you sit down and you evaluate, you're like, oh man, this person is not moving the way, you know what I mean? So you're going to have to be aware of that. You're going to have to understand it, and this is the platform for you to work through it, okay? And I'm happy and I'm glad that you're watching. And so we're going to move into the next one. So the girl also mentions that she gets into a process where she's chasing. She gets into a process where she's the one calling. She's the one now trying to convince this guy that, listen, you can choose me. Now, this I used to do as well, by the way. Like, my goodness, when I think of the things I used to do when I was young, Lord help me. We thank Jesus, guys. We thank Grace. That's why my name is Grace Girlie. Because I'm like, God, you've shown me so much grace. Like, you've really shown me so much grace. And I can't just keep quiet about what you've done for me, okay? So, essentially, after having intercourse, you will know that I speak about the hormone oxytocin quite a lot. I speak about testosterone, which is the male hormone. And I also speak about vasopressin, which is the male hormone. And I speak about dopamine, because all these hormones are in us. Women do release testosterone, but in small amounts, not as bountiful as the males. But the males need that the testosterone. They need that hormone to develop their deep voice, their facial hair, and all these other things, as well as their aggressiveness to just go through life as a hunter and get what you want, right? And so them having that hormone is not bad. In fact, it's good for them, okay? Because the less he has, the more girly he's going to be with you. So you want someone, obviously, who's going to have, testosterone, okay? Now, since that is done, we're going to move into the female one, which I want to emphasize. So the female hormone is oxytocin. Oxytocin in studies, in school, when I did my degree, my undergrad, we were taught about it from the perspective of breastfeeding and building a bond with your child, right, from breastfeeding. So every time you breastfeed, you release oxytocin, and that's what creates the strong bond between you and your child. What the teachers did not tell you, or what they missed to tell you, even in LO, which they're supposed to tell you in the life orientation class, is that oxytocin gets released as well when you have intercourse with a man. And it does get released. Even the man does release oxytocin, but it's in small percentage. It's like very tiny. But with women, we release more. Okay. So hence, and this is biological. God made it that way. I'll get into the details of why that is, but it's for you to also bond with your husband, right? And that's why in the olden days, your husband will marry you, and then you'd only have one husband for all your life. So it was to, create that bond with your husband and all of those things. So you will release oxytocin. And what it does is, to a certain extent, you see how you act with your child. When a mother's like, you're my child, you know what I mean? You are always thinking about your child. You're always concerned about them. Because why? You are bonded to them strongly. You have this emotional attachment, but also this biochemical attachment to them. You somewhat start developing that sort of biochemical attachment with your partner, especially when then it's not only through intercourse, it's you thinking of them and daydreaming and fantasizing about them and the life you guys are going to have. That's like a positive social interaction in your brain. And I'm really simplifying this, okay? If you want to go, you can read articles and stuff like that really go into detail about this stuff. So you would literally be, connected to him through daydreaming about him, because why are you thinking positively, right? You like thinking, oh, it would be so nice to do this, that. So then it's a positive social interaction. Every time you guys go out to a date and you are laughing your ass off, you just, he's so funny. That's a positive social interaction. You're releasing oxytocin. You hug the person, you're releasing oxytocin. So you see how oxytocin gets released in like a lot of ways, whereby if you are not aware, you would be bonding. Even a text and a phone call, okay? Texting is more linked to your dopamine as well, because it's like, and this has been proven with research regarding social media and how addictive it is, right? Some people will keep checking their app 77 times to see how many people liked their post, because it gives them that dopamine hit that, makes you feel, a reward or whatever, and then you get hooked. Alcohol and all those things do the same thing. They release the same pathway in your brain. That's why you find people are addicted to alcohol. So sometimes I am so gracious to people, because I understand. I'm like, yo guys, sometimes it's not even you, sometimes it's not your fault. The fact that you keep going to that wine glass and you said you're going to stop drinking wine, there's something there, you know what I mean, within your biochemical secretions that makes you go and take that glass of wine. So when someone says, but you can just stop drinking wine, no, you can't. You need to put in habits and things in place that help you, to deal with that. So anyways, like for instance, a positive, natural dopamine release, that could be taking a walk in nature, things like that. So there's a lot of things that you can do, which you can research as well. I'll try and cover them in more of these posts that I'll do, okay? These long form posts. So anyways, you've been releasing oxytocin this whole time. Why it's easier to let go, let's say, of a talking stage than it is of a intimacy, like in the bedroom, is because to a woman somehow, when you have slept with a guy, it somewhat locks this person into your mind as the one, or it locks. And I know women will say, no, but I can have intercourse with anyone and I don't think about them the next day. That's just why you've trained yourself to be like that, okay? And it's something that's hard for women to do. I do believe that women that have those characteristics do display somewhat more masculine traits, and I will explain in a different video, okay? So as a woman, it's going to be hard for you. That's how God made you, okay? That's how God made us, okay? So you're going to have to avoid that by all means. To what? To self-preserve. I don't even call it protection, to protect yourself. No, I call it self-preservation. You're going to have to self-preserve, okay? So you're going to have to find ways of really hiding yourself or removing yourself from those situations. So, for instance, what I teach, or one of the videos that I did on TikTok, I spoke about phone calls. If you are texting the guy, for instance, you text regarding the date to say, oh, we're meeting here at this time. Okay, good, whatever. If the guy is serious about you, he will call you more than he texts you. It's that simple. Because why? Men like hearing your voice. They like hearing the melody in your voice and the sweetness in it and the airiness of the voice and how calm and sweet it is. So he'll call you more than he actually texts you, because to him, he wants to have that connection. Men actually need connection. And that is very biblical. Men need like connection. They need it. It's very biblical. We know that God said to Adam, he cannot be alone. He needs someone, number one. So it tells you that God knew now, would say, my child needs a what? A connection. But the other part of it is, and this I took from Bishop T.D. Jakes because he said it so well. And when he said it, I was like, oh my goodness, he just dropped bars. Okay. He said that a man, like when God created everything else, he literally spoke the word. So he said, let there be let there be let there be But when it came to a man, okay, when he created Adam, God used his hands. He did not say, let there be a man. He actually went to touch the soil and made this man. So men need the touch. They need physical touch because of that. Okay. And I'm not talking about intimacy. I'm talking about physical touch that's very unadulterated. Okay. So yeah, something along those lines. But what I mean is that and if you're married, then yes, you know what type of touch I'm talking about. They need it. It's because God touched them when he was creating them. And then what happened? He then created a helpmeet, which is Eve. Because why? He said he cannot be alone. It's not good for him to be alone. You see what I mean? So they always need that. But I digress. I'm going in the other direction, whereas I want to go in this direction. So yeah, so you're going to have to realize that. Okay, so texting is not for you to share all your information with the guy. No, my baby, it's not. When you do that, you are connecting to him. He's not connecting to you. Men actually need physical. They need to, you need to be face to face with him. You need to look at him. That's why people who ask me about long distance relationships, I usually advise that, you know what? I'd rather not advise you because long distance relationships are very complex. And what we know biologically about people is that they need to be in the presence of other people to feel alive. You know what I mean? That's why COVID was so hard on so many people, because why? We just generally need to be with people. And so now your partner is on the other side of the world. You are on the other side of the world. Yes, it may work if things are meant to be. But even if you ask a guy about long distance relationship, they tell you straight up that no, I'm not doing that. And the reasoning is accurate. We know why. Okay. So so you would need to understand that. So you need to be with him on a date or an activity, maybe you go to a theme park, Gold Reef City, and then you're talking there as you're walking and whatever the case. You guys need to actually be with each other for him to connect to you, especially on a deeper level, okay? Because when you are with him, he recognizes the nuances that you have, okay? On the phone, he won't be able to. So your quirks, how you laugh, how you blush when, a child says hi to you, or all those things. And these are the things that make them simply fall in love with you. So it has to be a face-to-face meeting or interaction where he can actually feel your energy, okay? Yes, feminine energy you can feel through a call. When someone is calling you and you guys are talking, you can feel it through the voice, but it's an experience. Femininity is an experience. So he needs to be in your presence to actually really feel you. Then the other thing that I want to mention, which I think from the dating process, and as I'm looking at this, I'm wanting to really highlight, right? When someone says to me, Gracie, I keep attracting the same guy in different names. I keep attracting the same person, but it's just different guys. But it's the same character of a human being, essentially. That must highlight to you that you need to work on a few things about yourself, okay? And I'm sorry to say this, because in today's world where we cannot tell people the truth, in the sense that if you start being too, how do I put it? People will say you're harsh or you are inconsiderate. You are not, inclusive. Excuse me. So, sorry. So yeah, I want to tell you that personal development is not you reading a book and then putting it aside. Personal development is reading a book, going through it and saying, okay, what have I identified in this book that I can use or that I need to change about myself? And then you start the process. Now, if you find that relationships are the part of your life that are not going well, that means you need to read more relationship related books. You cannot read a book about yourself. For instance, you're saying to me, Gracie, my relationships don't last. But then you go and buy a self-help book that tells you about you, that says, no, you must try and visualize and what. No, you can't do that, because a relationship is with two people. So you need a book that's going to talk about the dynamics of two people. What are healthy dynamics for two people? But if you focus on self a lot, you will miss the opportunities to learn. And so if you are struggling with relationships, the first thing you're going to have to do is do what? Invest in relationship books and start reading those. You see what I mean? And that's where you're going to find that, oh, maybe I'm missing it here. Maybe I'm missing it there. When I knew that, okay, marriage is on the cards for me. By the way, I was someone that didn't think marriage is on the cards for me. If you know my background, which I'll share in a video, I think outside of background, when you've been hurt too many times, like you've been hurt over and over and over and over again, and you have been going through Christianity through the religion lens, right? You start thinking, maybe I'm supposed to be a nun. I thought I'm supposed to be a nun, my babe. Like, I thought I'm supposed to be a nun. I thought, like, as in, maybe I'm supposed to be a nun. Like, maybe I'm not destined. Was it destined to have a family and be married and all these things? And to a certain extent, I started believing it. That time, there was a small little voice in me saying, no, no, that's not the case. And remember, I grew up an orphan. I don't have parents. I don't have siblings. I'm the only child. So to me, it seemed the deceit from the enemy seemed to align with my life. I was like, maybe that's why everyone around me died, because I'm meant to be this loner in life. No, not the case, you know. And I remember when I heard this voice, the still voice talking to me, and every time I'd ask a question, so this happens to me all the time. I would like ask a question, right? Like thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder, Lord, this thing, that thing. And then God will bring something. It will be a podcast. It will be a book. It will be something or someone to talk to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, this might be true. Then it does mean that I'm actually destined to have a family, you know. And I just want to caution you as well from listening to people. I remember at some point when things were really going bad for me. And when I say bad, I mean they were not going as I had hoped them they would go. Like I was really wanting to be in a relationship at the time, and the relationship was just not working, or I wasn't in a relationship. There's this one person who was very close to me, and a few actually, that not a few. There was one particular that I remember very clearly, who said to me, and I think she meant well, you know, I think the person meant well, but at the time, God was working on my identity. And I thank God for that, because it helped me. The lady was like, you know, Mina, I'm someone who is like, I don't know how you say it in English, like abantu bagamoya. So she is like a seer or whatever the case. And she said to me, and you know, your ancestors, when you have a strong ancestor or strong whatever, and that whatever is a grandfather or is a male figure, and he doesn't. And if that's the case, it means you can't marry, because he's going to keep fighting the people that come to your life to try and marry you. That time I was deep into identity with Christ. Identity in Christ. I was deep into, I had listened to so many messages from Apostle Joshua Salmon. I had listened to so many teachings, right? I had been reading books about, I was deep into it. And I stood up and I was like, not me. I was like, not me. I don't know who's telling you these things, but my love, not me. So you need to get to that identity in Christ. You need to do that for your own development. Because what makes you say what's wrong with me is because you do not know what Jesus has for you. You do not know what God has set out for you. You know what I mean? And the frustration is that you keep failing and failing and failing and failing. And it's further it's further pressing this idea that, okay, fine. there's something wrong with you. No, there isn't anything wrong with you. He says in his word, God says in his word that his people perish because of what? Lack of knowledge, or ignorance rather. You know what I mean? So the areas where you're finding failure, usually, and this is what I've come to see as well, usually it's ignorance. If it's not God pruning you and training your character, it's usually ignorance. It's usually the lack of knowledge about the specific topic. And so you need to now take the time and say, I'm going to start investing to learn about this particular thing. And what I've found in having courses online, what I've found in teaching, young girls in my spare time and just coaching women, is that people are not willing to invest, especially into things that relate to them in relationships. They're not. There's so many ways that I've tried to help women. Like I'll say, okay, I'm creating a book club. In fact, I'd create it for free, but I want you to pay as a minimum of 100 Rand. Or a minimum of 200 Rand, right? For you to join this book club. And why I do that is because I want you to be committed. Because at the end of the day, I know people don't value what is, free. They don't. So you will create a book club. You share a book. Okay, guys, we are reading this book. And then people won't show up. And I'm like, by the way, I'm doing this for you because I have all this information. I've already read the books. That's why I can curate specific books to help you with what you're going through. And then I'll talk you through them. So basically, I'm saying, use me, exploit the knowledge that I have, exploit the experience that I've had so that you can be better. And people will not use that opportunity. So I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? Let's leave it. But I've come to a point where I understand that things happen in the right timing with the right people and all of those things. So I don't force anyone. The people that attend. The ones that are following, and they're seeing good results. I always get DMs as well that are like, thank you so much, Grace. You've helped me so much, which is so encouraging, right? So I continue for those people. So I continue for those people basically. So you are going to have to now be in the position where you understand that there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing at all. Like I explained, if you are having intimacy with a guy between 1 and 2 months, you are moving too fast. Between 1 and 3 months, you're moving too fast. Between 1 and 6 months, you're moving too fast. Why? Because a person of value, when you are valuable, you do not just give yourself to anyone, okay? When you are valuable, you don't share your knowledge with just anyone. Do you think the stuff that the billionaires share with ordinary people, it's not stuff it's stuff they're willing to share. Let me just put it that way. But the things that are really, really making them billionaires, they're not going to share that. They're not going to share that. With who? Do you know how hard it was to get to that level? And then I must just share it freely? No, they're not going to do that. So you need to come to that realization. You need to walk and treat yourself as a valuable person. Treat yourself as that cell phone that you have. You see the cell phone? It's of value. This cell phone is of value, correct? And I treat it as such. How do you know? I've put a cover on it so that when it falls, it doesn't break the screen. How do you know that this cell phone is of value for me? Is because I've put a screen protector to protect the actual screen. How do you know that this phone is valuable to me? Is because I carry it wherever I go. If I'm outside in the mall, I'm carrying it. If I'm outside of the restaurant, I'm carrying it. So you're seeing the usefulness of this particular item. That's what value means. The usefulness of the item. So you're going to treat yourself as though you are useful to someone's life. And then you're going to walk as though you are useful to someone's life. And that's how, when you start thinking it, you start acting it, you start doing it, you start becoming it. You will not allow any man to come to you and promise you mediocre things because you're like, I'm going to be useful in your life. Genuinely. And I'm not even, genuinely, I'm going to be useful in your life. Do you know what having a feminine woman like myself is going to do to your life? Like, you're going to have the best life ever. And it's because you genuinely understand the value you carry and what you bring into the union. Okay. So that's another thing that you need to work on now. So it's not me giving you rules upon rules upon rules upon rules. No, it's us working with your inside. It's us working internally with what you are going through and then now giving you the tools of how to work through that. So one of them is the self-worth issue, and you knowing that you have value and you bring value. Okay, now how we're going to do this is, the people that DM me most of the time are people that have gone through so many tragedies. And my pastor, was my spiritual mom, before, bless her soul, before she passed away, she said to me, the things that you go through are usually because you are going to heal other people using that particular, let me say, remedy. In Zulu, uzoba ikhambi. You're going to be the medication for people who have gone through what who are going through what you've been through. And so giving up is not an option. I've gotten DMs from women who have been raped, women who have been physically abused, emotionally abused, women who, it's so much. Like, sometimes when I read it, I feel like, oh my God, if I had a magic wand and just, do this and their situation changes. However, from what I know about God is that the very things they're telling me about, I look at it and say, oh my goodness, she's going to help so many women. Oh my gosh, when she moves past this, she has no idea how many women she's going to touch after this. I went through what I went through because now I'm sharing it with you, and there's knowledge and wisdom that came from God that helped me move past that, and now I'm able to share it with you. If I had given up then and said, you know what, relationships are just not working, like I'm just not the candidate, who would be doing this video? Who would be doing this video? Not me. You see what I mean? So I know for a fact that whatever you're going through, you will move past it. And having moved past it, that framework that you use to move past it, if it will include what I am teaching, it will include what you're reading in the books, it will include what you've implemented and made practical and applied, you know what I mean? It will include all of those things, and one day you will have a channel like this and you will be helping plenty of other women, because I bet you whatever situation you're going through, there's plenty more that are going through that. And so I see this as an opportunity for growth for you. I see it as an opportunity to reach your God-given gifts and to reach your God level anointing. And so, so that's how you're going to deal with it. So you know what I've mentioned. If you're a young girl going through the dating pool, if that guy is rushing you to the bedroom, he's not the one. If that guy is rushing you to intimacy, he's not serious about you, he's not the one. Coming from a big sister to you, coming from a peer, if you are already in your 30s, I'm in my 30s, I'm telling you now, if that guy is rushing you to the bed, not serious about my wife material, okay? And you need to have the faith enough to say there are out there who are serious about marrying a good woman, because they are. But you need to first be a good woman to find a good man, okay? Or to be found by a good man, if I'm going to base it on what the Bible says. So you need to now start working on saying, what are the characteristics of a good woman? And we're going to start then developing those characteristics. That's what I did. I realized that actually good men want feminine women. They want women who, are able to hold a home, make a house a home, but also want a woman who has range. And when I say range, they want a woman who can be fun to be around, who they can laugh with and do jokes with. But they also want a woman who's strategic and can think and say, okay, fine. So you saying this solution, okay, we can work around the solution, but maybe did you consider this, for instance? You see what I mean? They want a strategic woman, a woman who thinks. And they want a woman who's also capable of being a mother, who's going to hold and nurture, the children and everything. So there's these different characteristics in one woman that they want. We think, or we've been taught, that you need to be one type of a person. For instance, someone would say, oh, I'm an academic, I'm a PhD. And they think being a PhD qualifies them to now be a wife. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And then you'll find people saying, oh, but then that's why the women that, are in retail and work like as a waiter, for instance, get married. It's because they are very submissive, and no, that's not the thing. No, it's not the case. Not at all. I think you can have a PhD, still know how to hold a home, still know how to treat your man, and know the nuances of doing that. Because sometimes you're going to have to be the woman who doesn't take nothing, like crap, and sometimes you're gonna have to be the woman who's like, oh, I'm okay with that. You need to have that balance. You can't just be cutthroat all the time, or you can't just be, I'm a no-nonsense woman. Why are you a no-nonsense woman? What that tends to happen is you're one-dimensional, and one-dimensional people are boring. If I'm just going to be honest with you, if you're just one-dimensional, you are boring. You need to understand seasons, times, all of those things. You need to understand all of those things. You need to know, oh, okay, now I need to be the no-nonsense, person. Now I can smile and have jokes and dance and now I can, you need to have that very variety in your personality. And so my recommendation is, until you learn all those things, you are not yet ready for being in a serious relationship. You're not. Imagine if you meet a guy who's one-dimensional. The only thing he does is speak about academics, and that's it. Like nothing else. Nothing else. You'd be bored as well. You'd literally tell your friends, yo, that guy is so boring. You know what I mean? He doesn't go out. He doesn't do this. He's very, It's the same thing that women say with very traditional men who want a woman who's going to always cook for them. You know what I mean? Yes, you say you want a traditional man, but are you going to cook every day? No, I don't think so. You want to go out. You want to have dinner at a nice restaurant. You don't want someone who's going to say, this food here in these restaurants it doesn't taste as you're cooking, mama. Because why? He wants you to go cook. No, guys. So think of it that way, okay? Whatever that you're looking for in the guy that you envision to be your husband, your life partner, are the characteristics that you'll have to also exude. The reciprocal of those characteristics. And I'm going to read the last message that came through. Well, not last, but a similar message that speaks about this. And by the way, background plays a big part in this, okay? How you grew up plays a huge part. What was modeled in front of you plays such an incredible part. And when I use model, I'm going to use it using design. So, in design, in architecture, or when you're building a house, you need to model the house, and how that happens is how you design it and how you draw it, to envision it and say, oh, this is how it's supposed to look. Because if you don't do that, the kitchen will be at the door, I don't know, close to inside the bathroom. You know what I mean? So that's why modeling is such an important thing. So seeing how things are meant to be gives you a picture in your mind that sticks there, and then you move towards that vision to a certain extent. So I always say background is very important. For me, I had a mother and father figure in my grandmother and grandfather, but they were a very traditional family. My grandfather was the one who worked in terms of going out into the market, and, did the hard work, hard labor to a certain extent. My grandmother would be somewhat like a stay-at-home wife to a certain extent, but she would help with the business you know what I mean? So she didn't go to corporate, essentially. That's what I'm saying. So let's say every time I came back from school, my grandmother was home. Would I like to provide that for my kids? Yes. I'd like for my kids, when they come back from school, I'm waiting for them. I'm ready to give them the world. I'm ready to be there with them, teach them certain things and all of that. So that was what was modeled in front of me. You see how it's now helping me envision my life for my family and my kids. Now, there's a lot of things that happen in your background that you need to consider, and you need to make sure that you think about. I will do more videos on these because they're very important. As I said, how you grew up. So did you grow up with your mom and dad, or did you just grow up with your mom? Are you from a single parent household? Okay. Did you grow up with both your parents, but your dad wasn't present? He was present through money, and that's it. But you never felt like what a healthy masculine man's energy feels like in the house. So things like that. Sometimes you grow up with both your parents, but the environment is toxic. they shout at each other, so all these things will affect how you approach relationships and how you see them. The majority of the women in your family, are they married? Yes, no. If they're married, is it healthy relationships? Is it healthy dynamics where the masculine is the masculine, the feminine is the feminine? If that's not the case, let's say the woman is the masculine one, the woman is the one who does everything, and this guy is just sitting there receiving from the woman. That's an unhealthy dynamic, correct? So, because why? You'd expect the man to be the one who's all action, okay? Because that's their energy. They're all action. They're all movement. They're all strategy, thinking. This is what we need to do. This is what I want to do. You know what I mean? So, you need to be aware of those dynamics around you. Like in my family, what's the dynamics? In my neighborhood, what's the dynamics? Because you will model those things, okay? To a certain extent, yes, you want something different for your own life, but what was modeled in front of you is most likely what it's what you know. So usually, subconsciously, you will approach that type of lifestyle somehow. You see what I mean? So those are the things you need to evaluate. How did I grow up? And then you move into, how did that affect you? You seeing your dad, but he wasn't present. He only came back at night. And you guys, when he came back, you'd leave the living room because you wanted to watch TV and you didn't want any disturbances. So you guys would lock yourself in the bedroom. How did that affect you? It means, yes, you had a father figure there, but you did not interact with him from a fatherly perspective. You interacted with him from an authority perspective. How does that change your dynamic in the sense that when you go date, you might think of men as the authority, okay? Meaning if he's providing, that means his word goes, or things like that, you know what I mean? Or you don't have a say in the relationship. When are you just a pretty young thing or pretty little thing, and that's it. So things like that, because that will affect how you go about, how you show up. It will affect how, even with your femininity, if you were to come to me right now and say, Grace Girlie, please teach me about femininity, and I teach you, you are going to show up using that as your foundation. So then these are things you need to think through. What type of a feminine? I think I want to have holistic feminine women. I want to have wholesome feminine women. So it's women who are not too meek and docile, but they're also not too strong and, you know what I mean? Feminine women who are resilient, who know how to communicate in softness but get the point across. Even in corporate, these things win. When you can word something in such a way that people don't feel offended, but they get the truth and they get what needs to be done, you will succeed. You see how femininity works? It's like incredible. So you're going to have to do that, right? You're going to have to consider your background. You're going to have to consider, how you grew up and all of those things. And at the same time, I want you to consider if you saw healthy relationships or not. That's very important. And if you do not have any close by, you can outsource. Yes, you will not know everything there is about someone's relationship. Like some people are smiling, Gandhi, at home, they are beefing each other, You will not know. But and I always say this, I have mentors for different things. One would believe, you need one mentor and that's it. No, I have mentors for different things. I have a mentor for career. I have a mentor for finances who inspires me financially, and I'm like, okay, I want to be as wealthy as this person. I have a mentor who inspires me in terms of relationships, and I'm like, okay, this one. I have and you need to humanize people. Do not put them on a pedestal. Do not put people on a pedestal. Humanize them because they are humans. They make mistakes. They stumble. They fall, and all of that. Okay, so you might like one part of their relationship and not everything else. That's okay. You can then find a different couple where you like this specific part about them and you study that specific part because that's the part where they're doing well and they're thriving. You see what I mean? So do not put yourself in such a box where now you can't move. Make sure that you have freedom. And the first freedom starts in your mind. The liberation starts in your mind first before it even manifests physically. So that's what I do to help myself. And I'd recommend that you do it too, even with femininity. When I say you will be a Frankenstein when it comes to femininity, it's because of that. It's because there's so many women out there that display their different femininity, right? In different ways. And you might like the way this one greets, Maybe she greets with like a nice warm hug. But you like how this one asks how are you? You know what I mean? She doesn't say how are you. She'd be like, oh my goodness, so how are you feeling today? Or something like that. Then you like that one's hair, and you like, so you're gonna be a Frankenstein, and you'll find your own authentic rhythm and the one that feels comfortable with you after just mixing all these things together to become the you that you want to be. But it's because those things would resonate with you. They would resonate with you, so then you would find a way of bringing them into your toolkit. Okay, then after going through the process, and doing all of these things that you're going to do that we've spoken about in this video, I want you to take it seriously in terms of application, because I'm going to do a lot of videos. I'm going to talk about these topics, many of them, but I want you to be committed to the change. That's the one thing that will help you. I can give you a tip right now and say, oh, you want money from a man? Just ask him like this. I know right now this video will trend and I will get 1 million views, but that's not what I've been called to do. I've been called to do something else, and that's to actually liberate women, like fully, completely. And so that's what I'm doing. So you need to commit. You need to commit to yourself. You need to commit to your evolution. You need to commit to your growth. It will get hard at times. It did for me as well. When I started practicing being feminine again, I would make mistakes. And I remember I'd sit and laugh and be like, oh my gosh, that was so masculine, But at least I could now identify when I'm being masculine and when I'm being feminine. You see what I mean? And I was committed that the next time I'm going to try and be more feminine. So then I'd respond and it will be more feminine. So you practice. And one day it will become so natural to you that it just happens. And you're like, oh, okay. Is that it? You see? So it will happen. So commit to your evolution. I don't want to say commit to your personal development or your change. I want to say commit to your evolution. You are evolving into this human being. And you need to commit to her. Commitment means also showing yourself empathy as you grow. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to stumble sometimes. But if the goal is to actually move forward and, do something, you'll do it. I know you will. So that's the first episode of the long form videos. Oh my goodness, I spoke so long. I thought it's going to be a short one, but I think I'm very passionate about this topic. I'm going to do more. We're going to move into how to identify that this person is now committed, And as I said, these are principles, okay? There's variations to these things. I got a message sometime from a person that said, oh, by the way, this guy asked me for exclusivity. He then said, can I be his girlfriend? But he still went on and he cheated. Yes, that's because he's a cheat. And it's not your responsibility to try and change him. It's that simple. So we're going to go through those things, but you need to have a confidence of understanding that allow people to be who they are. Okay. And we're going to go into that. So join me next time. I don't know when I'm going to do these videos, but I'll try posting like on a weekly or a daily. I think a daily would be nice. And you guys stay tuned. Sometimes you'll come with me as I go out on an experience and we talk about certain things, and some of the videos won't be as long. I won't make like an hour long. Maybe I'll try 30. So it will be between 30 and an hour. We'll see, depending on the topic. But stay tuned, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye, girlies.